Hello, in today's video we'll be replacing the front shocks on this 2002 Chevy truck. Upon doing this simple bounce test, we can quickly see that these shocks are bad. When you bounce your vehicle, it shouldn't bounce more than twice, and this one clearly does. So it's fair to say that these shocks are bad. So let's get started removing these shocks. To remove this top nut, we'll need a 15mm socket, but in most cases just rotating it off won't work, because the center will rotate with the nut and you won't loosen anything. But it's worth giving it a try before having to hold the middle of the shock. The best way to tell is loosen the little and check if the center rotated. And if it did, you may as well stop and proceed to the next method. They sell these shock absorber tools that allow you to hold the center and rotate the outer nut. They work good if you don't have much space. But here we got enough room to remove it without special tools. Just a wrench and a small crescent wrench will work. So for here I'll use a 15mm ratcheting wrench plus a small crescent wrench to hold the center. And all you gotta do is loosen the wrench and hold the middle. And if it does start to get hard to loosen, a little WD-40 can help. And once you get the top nut off, we can continue on to the lower bolt. And for this we'll need a 21mm socket and a wrench or a crescent wrench to hold it on the other side. And once it's loose enough, you can remove the rest by hand, removing the nut first and sliding out the bolt. Now we can just slide out the shock. If you still have a good shock, you may need to push up with a little bit of force to get it off, but this one is worn so it comes out really easy. And you'll want to make sure that you remove the old top bushings and the lower bushings. They should have stayed on the shock. And here's our new shock next to our old shock. And here's a quick way to test if your shock is bad. If you push it on the shock, it should push out slowly. But as you can see on this one, this shock does nothing. So this shock is definitely bad. And here's our new one and what it actually should do if the shock is good. Well, let's go ahead and install our new shock. The first thing we'll have to do is open our bag of bushings and nuts. Or if you get a lock nut, it'll just be one nut. And we'll want to place the washer on first, then a bushing with the flat side against the washer like so. And now we can put the shock into position, sliding the top in first. And now let's go ahead and insert the lower bolt plus the nut. And now we can put the bushing and the washer on the top, with the flat side against the washer again. You'll want to get the nub part of the bushing to sit in the shock mount so it centers it. If you can't get the nut on just like that, you may need to lift it with a jack on the control arm, and that'll quickly solve that. And with that, we have enough room to get the nut on. And for this nut, we'll have to use a 14mm socket. When tightening this nut, you shouldn't have to hold the middle portions. This is not a lock nut, and it's a new shock, so it's not as loose. Once you get that nut tightened, you'll want to install the second nut over that one. And you'll want to tighten the upper nut so it locks the lower nut. And now let's tighten and torque the lower bolt and nut. And that just about does it for this video. I hope you found it helpful and informative. If you did, please click that like button to support my video and channel. And please subscribe and ring that bell if you haven't done so.